Stephanie Jenkins is seriously spiraling. If you notice, not too long ago, we had the post where she had claimed that she's struggling with some mental health issues. And I'm not going to talk anything about that because mental health is a real thing. And I can see why she'd be struggling with mental health, being in that environment, in that situation that she's in. But then, now we're starting to see she's posting all this, let's call it Christian content, right? She's got the children making illustrations and writing sentences about the fruits of the Spirit. And then we see, and that's wonderful. That's wonderful that she wants to teach them about Scripture and Jesus. That's a beautiful thing. But why won't she allow these children to go to school, get into Sunday school, go to church, let them make friends at Sunday school, let them learn? Because they would not be under her control for that amount of time that they would be in Sunday school. And I've spoken on this before in previous videos. It's going to eventually come out what she is trying so hard to keep hidden. Because that's the only reason I can figure. There's something she's afraid that those children are going to tell if they get out of her sight. Because, they're not involved in a Sunday school, church, after school activities. They don't have friends. They don't go play with their friends at their friends' homes. They don't spend the night anywhere. They don't have friends come to the shelter. Nothing. She is terrified to let them children out of her sight. But moving on. So then she makes this video where she's talking about her faith. She's lacking faith. And that's why she's got this depression and this and that. And she's not having enough faith in God's timing and God's plan. Okay, Stephanie. So what I'm hearing from everything she said is she's going to do absolutely nothing but sit in her shelter room, her filthy shelter room, and wait on the good Lord to drop a home into her lap. She claims she's looking into Scripture, she's praying, she's doing all this and that. Has she not heard the verse, faith without works is dead? She cannot sit there and rely 100% on faith and do nothing. But she believes she can. And then she actually has the audacity to go on and to talk about, she's talking about the negative comments. She had started to believe these things, but she wouldn't want all positive comments either, because then she would feel as if people were idolizing her. And I truly think that she thinks that that's what's going to happen when if they ever make it out of the shelter. So yeah, that's what's going on with Stephanie. She's schooling the children on the Bible. And then she is also, just waiting on this house to drop into her lap. But I will tell you, she's not lacking faith. What she's lacking is enough love for her children to do what she needs to do to get them out of this situation. And I've said it a million times, what she needs to do is she needs to get a guaranteed income. And she needs to start looking into private landlords. But for whatever reason, she refuses to do that. Now let's talk about Drew. Drew gets on and makes another video talking about how he's working the 45 hours a week and doing the gig work. And the money struggles aren't as bad. And then he's talking about them, getting the McDonald's or whatever, because that's all they have time for. And so let me get this straight. Now we're wasting money on fast food. Because there had also been a video Stephanie had previously made, just a post that she had previously made on FB about the small portions she had gave her children. Because an hour prior to that, they had eaten Wendy's. So now we're seeing all this fast food. So obviously, times are good in the shelter. So let's spend this money on fast food now instead of saving it for housing. So Drew, he's just, him, no excitement, no nothing. And he, his 45 hours a week, he wants a pat on the back for that. But you know what? I will give credit where credit is due. At least he's trying to get up off his ass and do something to get them up out that shelter, while she continues to do nothing. Absolutely nothing. So, as he goes on, he speaks on the weather, and then, the working and the money strains are easing up. And then, get this, he wants to know, it's come to his attention that a lot of people think he's a POS. And he wants to know where that came from, why people think he's a POS. Well, where do you want us to start, Drew? Like I said, I will give credit where it's due. At least now you're working and trying to get your family out of this mess. But why do people have this opinion of you being a POS? Well, let's look at this. Your oldest child, you were basically forced to start paying support for your oldest child, who you haven't seen in years. Okay, that doesn't make you a POS? Just completely forgetting you have a child? Or let's talk about how you allowed Stephanie to keep Deshaun from his mother. Or let's talk about how we seen the video where y'all are packing up the U-Haul from the one bedroom, and we seen you pick up Milo and throw that cat out the door. Okay. Or what about how you had refused to work for so long because you came right out and said on a live, I do not want to work. I don't want to be told what to do. And basically how you were above these jobs that you could get. You deserved better pay and this and that. So you refused to work for however long, which contributed to you getting evicted from the one bedroom. And let's speak on the one bedroom. How about that apartment was for you and Deshaun, but you allowed Stephanie to move in with her 2 children at the time. And, completely discombobulate this little boy's life. Or how about you had 2 more children with Stephanie that you couldn't afford? And you want to know why people think you're a POS, Drew? Let me know what you think.